This is Esther Knight, and in the last 7 days alone, she's written over $9,800 in life insurance premium. And today, she's going to reveal her secrets to being a top producing agent to all of you. Esther, welcome to the channel. It's great to have you. How's it going?
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Tim. I'm actually excited to be having this interview with you right now. It's pretty cool.
100%. I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited as well. And for all of those that are watching at home, if you could kind of just give us a background, obviously, you've had a very successful week. How long have you been in the industry for? And can you just give us like a little bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah. So I actually, before I started in insurance, I was in the hospitality industry, and I was in the industry for probably like 20 years. And after COVID happened, I think it was just a huge burden on a lot of us that we were in managerial roles, just to kind of, make sure things were still good. So at that point, I kind of felt like I needed to make an out. And my brother was actually in insurance, and as much as I kind of looked at it like I wasn't sure how I felt about it, I thought it was the best opportunity to start being able to make really good money right away, where you didn't have to go and go to school or, get some other type of degree or something like that. I mean, it was something, you take a test and, you're ready to go. So when I got started, and I loved it because it gave me an opportunity to still have those relationships with people the same way that I did in the hospitality business. So it wasn't a hard transition. The only thing that I would say is that, you really have to work hard with this. And I think that's kind of been something that was reinforced in the company that I'm currently in, even with you guys. In your training, it's the same thing. And I think that, for anyone that wants to do this, they're just going to have to be committed to hard work, and just never giving up. I mean, really, that's it. And then mindset. I was listening to one of your videos, and I think you said something like, well, why the expository are you doing this?
Yeah.
And you almost have to ask yourself that, like, okay, why am I going through this right now? So
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
love
100%. I'm glad you watched the training. That's funny.
it. Yeah.
So you said you were in the hospitality business before. Like what specifically were you doing?
So I was a director of sales for probably like 10 plus years. And then I
Okay.
was hotel operations for another 10 years. So it
Got it.
was 20 plus years, and I got to see it from both sides. I mean, obviously in sales, you're painting the picture, it's glamorous, it's everything that the client or the guest wants. And then the operational side is like, okay, they promised all of this. Now we've got to make it happen, So it was good to know the two sides of it. And then
Yeah.
obviously being able to do both was a plus, because there's times when you had to fill positions that were empty, and I could still sell, and I could, manage and run the hotel at the same time. So it was good.
Got it. And you said the pandemic kind of forced you out of that, which that makes sense. Kind of a tough time
Absolutely.
for the hotel industry for
Oh,
sure.
really? Travel altogether, that was the scary thing. We're all sitting there thinking, how come I just didn't get an engineering degree, or why didn't I do something else that would have been, made it through this and not felt, like it was such a volatile time in my life, so.
Oh, 100%. So you weren't one of those people that grew up wanting to be in the life insurance industry?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
No?
So I actually did have a practice company that did more a supplemental, and that's how I kind of got into it. So I was still working at the hotel full time, and I was moonlighting. So when I would have, PTO days, or if I had, taken some time off or whatever it was, I would run business to business with sales. And
All right, so real quick, I need to interrupt the video because if you're a life insurance agent, chances are you're doing one of three things. You're either buying aged leads, you're buying leads from your IMO, or you're buying leads from a lead vendor. And chances are you are way overpaying for those leads. And not to mention, the leads never even pick up the phone. Well, if that sounds familiar, then give me the next 15 seconds and I'm going to show you something that's going to completely change everything. We just launched Insurance Agent Freedom School, which is an entire training platform and program that will show you how to fire your lead vendor and cut your lead costs to 1/10 of the prices that you're paying right now. This is a program that I used to sell for over $2,000, but right now, you can get access for just 99 bucks a month and try for free for 7 days. Inside, you'll learn everything that you need to know to fire your lead vendor and cut your lead costs so you can start generating way more profits in your business. Not only that, but whenever you join, I'm also going to give you access to a dialing software that has allowed us to see answer rates as high as 20%. So if you make 100 dials, that means 20 people are answering. So I'm going to include a link down below this video to get access to a free trial. All you need to do is click the link down below and start your free trial to fire your lead vendor, generate more profits, boost your answer rates, and start making more money in your insurance business. Now, back to the video.
I was somewhat successful with that, but it's like you got to be able to give 110% to everything that you do.
Yeah.
But I was at least able to close a couple of deals, and that kind of gave me that confidence, because I already knew sales to a certain degree, and it was a product that, those people wanted. So, yeah, it just set me up, to be able to do this. But yeah, I never, when I looked at insurance, and it's kind of weird, Tim, now, because so many people look at insurance from a negative standpoint because of some of the things that we've seen happen recently.
Yeah.
I did post on my Facebook and Instagram. I said, a lot of people feel like insurance. I said, insurance is only a scam because you don't have a good agent. And that's not to say anything, derogatory to people that are just getting in the business and just learning, and maybe they're making mistakes, but you've got to have integrity, number one. And you have to be the type of person that, the person that you're working with, your client, feels like is really committed to making sure that they get the best possible plan for them, not for you.
100%.
You know what I mean? So
I would definitely agree, and that's one of the things that I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in the industry. So there's a broad spectrum of
absolutely.
agents that they will sell what's best for them, right? What's best for the agent and what's best for the client, and you can usually tell just from the patterns of what somebody's doing how long they're going to last in the industry,
Exactly.
and also how many chargebacks they're going to get too, because
That's
people
right.
aren't stupid by any means. So
Absolutely.
you got into the insurance industry. Was your how did your first few years go? Did you have like a tough go at it? Do you feel like the sales experience translated well, or did you just like hit it out of the gate and you were selling policies left and right?
So when I first started, it was more like warm market. You'd talk to people, hey, I sell insurance now. Do you need something? And so thank God I had a couple of people that were, interested in getting something set up, because
Yeah.
I was very hesitant on, buying leads. I was weird about it because, for a lot of us starting out, even if we did have, monies maybe that came from, a former position that we were in, you
Yeah.
don't want to just blow it all on something like that. Like, you're not prepared to invest. And so what I did was I had some friends and family that were interested in some policies. So that kind of brought me up a little bit. And then I took my first travel trip. So I'm originally from Pennsylvania. And so I went back home, and that was exciting, but I bought a lot of leads. And so I was trying to book appointments to set up for my travel trip. And when I got back there, I was still calling and still trying to set appointments. And I was successful on that trip. I mean, I wrote a decent amount of premium, but
Selling in
I would have,
person, face to face.
yeah. So
Okay.
this was actually setting the appointments and going to their homes and sitting down with them.
Got it.
But I know that I could have done better because my brother was actually in the state, and then I'm flying in. And after I left, he still wrote like more business. So, I mean, like all together, I mean, it was probably about 20,000, And so like for me, if had I been a little bit more dedicated to taking care of that, and that's why I'm saying it's hard work. So after that travel trip, I realized that, you got to work hard. And so even you say it in the trainings about some of the states that we find are a lot more successful than others. Pennsylvania is one of those states. So I live in Arizona. And so when I came back, it's completely saturated because there's a lot of insurance, brokers, agents, whatever you want to call them, that are out here. So it was difficult to kind of define your market. So I had to really work everything. So, Tim, I shared that, I'm probably about 20 minutes outside of Phoenix. Well, you got a lot of agents that are in and around that area. So I had to head south So I was mainly working Tucson. I was working the surrounding area that I'm in.
Yeah.
And so I started to build a name that way, but it wasn't easy. You're talking door knocks, you're talking, phone calls from the side of the street, the side of the freeway, 100 degrees outside, I mean, it was very, very difficult, kind of going to locations and they had given that address and there was nobody there. I mean, so no house there, no nothing. So
Yeah.
in the middle of the reservation, weird stuff, weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
I did you sounds like you've watched a lot of the training, so you probably already know this, but this is for the audience. It's like that's how I started as well, was face to face in North Carolina.
mhm,
You see some crazy stuff. I mean, I'm
mhm.
talking trailers that don't even have doors on them.
Yep.
Um, my buddy, his first door knock ever, he had a gun pointed at his face.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, you did it in Arizona with the heat. Oh my gosh, door
Yeah.
knocking in 120-degree weather is that's some next level stuff. I got respect for that.
Yeah, let me tell you, I was very, I frequented a lot of Starbucks locations and I made
Yeah.
friends all over because you had to use a bathroom and you had to sit down to be able to talk to somebody because you had an appointment and, you were in between. So yeah, I mean, truck stops, you name it. I mean, I've been.
This is totally off target and a total side note, but you said something that made me think about this. When I was doing face to face, what I realized, and if anyone here is watching this and you're selling face to face, first of all, you're probably going to realize later in the story why Esther switched to telesales. And if you watch all of our videos, you'll see why as well. But tip for you while you're face to face, if you're on the road and you have to use the bathroom, don't go to the places that everyone else goes. I found out if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, there's a Home Depot and a Lowe's in like every single city, and nobody is thinking to get off of the highway to go to the bathroom at Home Depot or Lowe's, so the bathrooms are always clean. So, side note, little
Yeah,
tip there.
I'll add to that hotels and also
Yes,
Walmart, not Walmart,
not
Walgreens
Walmart.
and
Definitely
CVS.
not Walmart.
Said no.
Not Walmart.
No, Walgreens and CVS are good ones, or any type
Yeah,
of
but they make
pharmacy.
you get a code is the only problem. You got to go up and then like type in like 1678 star to get into the bathroom.
Right?
Oh man.
That's so
The
true.
pains of a direct mail face-to-face insurance
I
agent. But
know, I know. But you know what? That kind of stuff builds character, and people don't realize that. Like,
no.
it's a privilege to talk to people over the phone.
Oh my god.
Because I mean, when what we've been through in the elements, I mean, this is what creates good salespeople, good insurance, advocates trying to take care of protecting families. I mean, I'll tell you this, Tim. So I was doing the telesales, but like if I could get to an area like Texas is not far from me. I would fly in and meet with, especially the bigger premiums that I had, because we were like, oh my gosh, you better hope that doesn't charge back. Well, then get on a plane and, get some leads and then work those and then go and see some of the people in the area that you've already sold and
Yeah.
just meet their families and talk to them. Do you know that those are still on the books? I mean, their families know me, they've called me, for different things. So sometimes you do have to be strategic about how you do this,
100%.
in order to manage it. But yeah.
Yeah. So, skipping forward, so you did face-to-face for a while. How did you transition into telesales, and what like spurred that change? Why did you decide to do that?
Well, it's almost like you're kind of forced into it a little bit, and I only say that because you do have situations where people are not comfortable with you, coming to their homes. Number one,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're not comfortable going to their homes. That's number two,
Yeah.
especially after you get there and you're kind of stuck in a weird place. And then I would say if you're trying to be somewhat like eco-friendly, I mean, like the gas, I mean, you can kind of save because for a lot of us, you're spending a lot of gas. And if let's say that your day wasn't full and you had to do some other things, I mean, you could be, spending a lot of money on the road, So, I mean, it's something that was nice, but what kind of got me into it was I ended up with COVID back in January of 22, I was
Hmm.
kind of like on the other end of the people that ended up with it, not the first group of people that had it, but I had to do it that way because, I needed to still work. And, people were trying to get a hold of me to get policies. And, if they could handle me coughing, really, hard coughing and just choking over the phone, if they could get through that, then we would definitely get them covered on something. But I mean, that's what kind of got me into it. And, I think that when you have, people can feel your character and they like your personality, and they feel that you're a good person through the phone. And believe me, it's not an act. You're genuine, through the phone. I think that they do become comfortable with you, and you're able to verify yourself. You give them the criteria that they need. Hey, this is the information. This is my license for X state or whatever it is. When you've done that, it makes them feel more comfortable. I don't have anything to hide.
Right.
That's what I always present to them first and foremost. And, I try to build a little bit of that rapport, later on. But I've had some situations recently. I mean, even with this, those folks that I've talked to, they have some serious stuff. Like there's been mothers that are trying to get protection where, they've lost, their children, and like some have, started crying on the phone. And I mean, like, this is why I love doing this, because it really connects the human side of what we do. People got to stop getting caught up in, I get it, it's transactional, but at the same time, when someone passes away, this is not like, this is so serious. Like I just, when I went out to the East Coast for my girlfriend's daughter's wedding, I saw one of my clients out there, and literally, Tim, we had said, Happy New Year, blessings, blah, blah. And his daughter called me like that next week and said that he passed away. So, I mean, that to me was heartbreaking, because I literally just saw him. And it's like, people keep forgetting that no day is promised. And I get it. Maybe somebody didn't want to deal with the life insurance right now because I got a million things and I don't have any money anyway. But sweetheart, gentlemen, you may die, tomorrow. We
Yeah.
go here and have a car accident. I mean, we don't know. So it's like, nobody wants to leave their kids, their parents, children, whatever, we don't want to leave them in a situation. And I always tell people, if you don't have a lot of savings, then you darn should get some type of policy that's going to protect, what's there and what could be lost,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think a lot of people, they get caught up in like the numbers of what we do, but at the
Right.
end of the day, it's really a relationship and a people business. And
Hmm.
one of the videos that I have in the training, it talks about like going and looking at, and this goes for whatever product you're selling. If you're selling final expense, you should do this. If you're selling, annuities or IUL, you should probably look at different things, but the same kind of concept applies. Go on GoFundMe and just look through the post on GoFundMe.
Yep.
That is the result of what happens when people don't like purchase what you're ultimately helping them with, right?
It's, it's the truth, Tim. I mean, so I even say this because a lot of people don't look at this for their kids. No one's saying anything about our kids, passing away, but we know that social media has a weird influence. We know that their outside influences can, bring up some other things too. And you keep hearing these stories about stuff happening to kids, and maybe it's an illness, maybe it's a sickness, regardless, we don't want to say that it's just about that, but what are you going to do if that is the situation? You're not protected either way. When I'm telling these people that, hey, this is what you need to get, this is what I get, I have it for my son. My
Right.
mother lives with my son and we have it for her. I have it for myself, because if something happens to me, then what are they going to be left with? They're not going to have, they're not going to be able to stay in the house. There's going to be some other things going on, there's expenses there. So, people got to understand that the severity of it, I think, it's something we just kind of want to bypass, because we just think that we're, invincible, or at least for now, we don't think that anything is going on. But look at all of the people that we talk to. the health conditions that they have, that, just kind of came about, or that, the doctors put in their medical files and they never even know anything about it. It's like, that's a pretty substantial, sickness that you have. What do you mean you didn't know anything about it? So,
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
it's, yeah.
100%.
So that's been something there, a realization for sure.
Yeah. No, I think it's super important, and just that's something that face to face really does give you, I would say, is you
Hmm.
realize the human element. Like
Hmm.
when you only have done it over the phone, which again is not necessarily a bad thing, but you do kind of lose out on this piece of it, is you don't feel the deeper connection to the people. But when you meet them face to face, you see their grandkids playing, you see their house, whatever,
Right.
you do feel that a lot more emotionally, for sure.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So coming into, more recently,
Hmm.
what were you doing prior to us working together? Because you've been in the industry for, I think, 3 years. You did face to face. You switched to over the phone. What brought you to looking at what we do?
So believe it or not, a friend of mine was watching Facebook, or I want to say it was Instagram, and she's like, "Oh, you should check this out." And it's funny because there's always that person that says, "Well, you should check this out." You got to have that one person that's willing to, invest, or at least try and see what's going to happen. And so I'm so glad that she said that. So I was, purchasing some leads here and there, and I'm going to say I wasn't doing as much lead purchase as I should. Honestly, Tim, before this, I would say that production for me was down simply because I was kind of off somewhere in the clouds. And that's just not a position anybody wants to be in. But I can say that a lot of the business that I did write for 2024 was referral. So I've kind of created a name for myself where people know, especially in the county, that I support, that, what, Esther's the one that you want to go to for insurance. So I'm known around this area. So that's a good thing, but that's not enough to kind of, keep you, so to speak. So, for me right now, going into this, it was a true investment, because here's the thing is that, I have to kind of get back on my feet. And if I'm buying recycled leads, okay, here comes the mental trip right there. If you don't have a good lead system mentally, you're just completely burned. I mean, because, okay, you're going to have the people on the phone. And I remember another sales guy calling me. He's like, God, this is like so demoralizing. And he was doing, I think, bathroom remodel or whatever. And I'm like, you talk about demoralizing, try, calling old leads. I mean, that if you don't have the mental fortitude, you can just hang it up right now. But, you want something that's going to be fresh. You need something in real time, and you need something that other people can say that they've been successful at. So here's the story is that I'm talking to you, Tim, and you've done this. Julian, both of you guys have done this. You have to
Mhm.
be able to talk to people that understand and have been producers, because you and I could sit here and talk for the next, hour about things that we've experienced in different states, going door to door, what it is to be, having a gun pulled on you, or, in my case, being in a remote location with a felon. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
understand what, those things feel like. So, we can connect. But when I'm looking at your training and the way that you have this set up, there's a mentor there, that helps out, that does the same thing. It's not just people talking to you, it's people that actually do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Adam's been amazing. And it's just, you need that, because we're not new to this, but you still need that constant reminder. So with this and the way that the leads are generated, I mean, personally, I would suggest that whoever looks at this has you guys work with them and try. And I'm not saying that you can't try to create the leads yourself, because maybe you'll get to that point, but you got to just understand someone that's done it and the fact that they've been successful doing it, and then figure out where you want to kind of fall into it, because you guys have got this thing figured out. Yes, you're going to have some leads that, people say stuff or the same things that you've heard, but there's more that don't say that than, the ones that do. And sometimes you get the, text message conversations that come in just from the automations, callbacks because of the automations,
Yep.
people that book, self book the appointments, and maybe you call them right then just to confirm, and they want to go through it right then and there. I mean, all of these scenarios were poised for simply because we've been doing this. It's not like you're a deer in headlights, and you have to be super positive about what the outcome is going to be. I mean, I talked to Chaz when I first, started, with this and was trying to kind of figure out how it was going to work. And even with him, I mean, he's been in the industry for, some time. And, so we kind of talked about it, and he's like, they really thought long and hard about this. They put a lot into this, because they do want to see people successful. And I feel like it's just your dedication to it also, because during the holidays, you could have been like, oh, well, I don't want to call people. Oh, it's New Year's Eve. Nobody wants to talk. But somebody was sitting by the phone or, like looking at something, and they wanted to get a phone call. They wanted to kind of talk about it. So, and there's education that you can give a lot of these clients too, because if they didn't understand really what life insurance was about, you can give them that same education, and then they're able to make a decision based off of what you've shared with them. So, I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
all the way
100%.
around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, and it sounds like you would second this, is like the difference for a producer that's working like CRM leads that have been resold like hundreds or thousands of times
Mm-hmm.
in certain cases versus working a fresh exclusive lead that's only going to you is
Right.
it's literally night and day difference,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
kind of talk through like what were you experiencing before when you were doing the CRM leads versus kind of like the conversations that you're having now?
So the ones that I was having before that with mainly recycled leads, or ones that were, they're aged, even if it's 1 to 30 days, if it's, maybe 60 days or something like that, it's a lot of that. I didn't do this, I don't know what you're talking about. Somebody used my information,
Yep.
no answers. But like with this, you're going to get some feedback from them, whether it's them trying to set something up, whether
Yep.
it's them asking a question. I had one guy like on a Sunday that texted me and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about trying to get something set up. And, it's people that already know what they want. It's not none of this, you got to kind of work with them and try to pull it out of them and all of that, I mean, because honestly, I mean, for all of us, time is money. I mean, I have a kid that's in high school, and, you got to run around and do stuff for them. And, you don't have a lot of time to sit, and not kind of connect with people. So this just makes it so much easier, and here's the thing is that, and I'll say this, is that even if you have, like you're purchasing leads, and, you have some that come in and you're not able to get a hold of them. Okay. You got to still keep running them. The next group that you get, or the next couple of leads that come in, just be aggressive about trying to get a hold of them. So you might get somebody there, and then you might get someone in the next, and then the next. But you can't just say, oh, you know what, this first one, I don't have anything, blah, blah, and then just look at, wanting to give up. I know that's what some of us typically do, especially when you've been doing it for a while, because some people come into it and they don't have the money to really put towards something. But I keep hearing this over and over again. You guys say it too. You got to be willing to make that investment, because if we don't, we're still doing the same thing. And that's what I said, Tim, for 2025. I'm done doing the same things that I've been doing, because I'm not getting the kind of results that I need to. Sorry, but I should have been way ahead of, where I am. I mean, I'm starting with it now, but I'm saying, looking back in time, I should have been further along. And it's
Yeah.
because of the fear of, what you're putting out there, and not being able to, and worrying about not being successful,
You're saying basically like putting money up for leads, but then you don't get like an immediate result. Yeah.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
That's the tough part that as an agent you do kind of have to cope with mentally. And as you get bigger and bigger, like I don't know if do you have plans to build an agency, or are you more of like you want to be a solo producer?
So that's kind of come about, somebody, because I know what the advantages of, building an agency are, but, there's always a downside to something. I mean, we know that, and I'm certainly not trying to be negative, but I think that once I can kind of streamline what I have, it definitely is, something that I think would make sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's quality over quantity for real, because I
Oh
get,
yeah.
where we're at with, just having a bunch of people, but, they can leave a dirt trail, when they walk away. I mean, let's just
Well,
be honest,
that's the thing is like the bigger you get, it's just the same principles apply, but on a bigger scale. So like if you're an agent and you're buying leads, and let's say you put out $1,000 for a pack of leads, you might not see the return on that $1,000 for like 2 months,
hmm
right?
hmm
Because for whatever reason, maybe a case gets declined or it gets pushed back or whatever. But if you look at it on a longer time horizon, you'll see what your true return is. But you're not going to see like your true return in 4 days, And I think
Right.
that's probably one of the biggest things that is frustrating for agents. But on the flip side of that, when you're calling aged leads that have been called, 1,500 times by 30 different agents,
Right.
it's much tougher to even pull that money out.
Right.
Not to mention if you're calling from like your cell phone or you're getting flagged as spam and you're not using like different systems and things that kind of make it easier for you as an agent,
Oh
it
yeah.
just it makes all of that much more difficult than it even needs to be.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and like, and you've even mentioned with this, so you have the self-booked appointments. You're calling the ones that haven't booked appointments, but you see that they've come in. There have been days where I had, 7, 8 appointments already. Where I was able to talk to them, and they were on 30 minutes. So I was learning how to present and, do the need discovery and get all of that stuff, or at least, reinforce pain points within that amount of time. And when you're working with people that already know, and they've already been set up by the automation, it's
yeah,
not a sit around and try to get them to open up. You know what I mean? They already know what's going on. So it's taken a lot of the work that a lot of us are used to doing, but it's just made it that much easier. I'll be honest with you. I think that if tomorrow for whatever reason I cut this off, I would be worried about how I was going to get back, momentum. You know what I mean? And that's scary for what we do, because if you're going without that momentum, there can be a lot of problems, and it's a snowball effect, and then it becomes mental. And for us, we can't. I've talked to so many people, people in the industry about this. I've, talked to even friends, that know me, people from the gym that know what I do. I talked to them about, investing in this, and, I wasn't too concerned about how it was going to work, because I know that you guys can only do so much. I mean, we have to be willing to do the other side of it. And then you still set us up with, someone to help out, ways to navigate the system. You even take the time to talk about it. Hey, where you should be, channeling or marketing, to get leads, or, different states. I mean, you guys have thought about everything with this. So, like I said, I would just suggest that, people give it a try if they've been kind of hitting their head about what, they need to do, or, this whole recycled leads. I mean, they're going away. Like, you're not going to be able to do this anymore. Like, you're going to have to find a way to generate, leads, because you can't keep calling these people. I mean, you just can't. I mean, there's new regulations for that. So,
yeah.
mhm.
So obviously, you basically just had a nearly $10,000 a week on these leads alone. I think on
Mhm.
top of with some other stuff as well, we're over a 10,000, maybe even close to like a $15,000 a week. I think you had said.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, these
Almost
are
20. Yeah, almost 20.
almost 20,000 in a week. These are insanely high numbers, right?
Mhm.
For a new agent that's watching this, if you were to give them 3 tips to get to that level, what would those tips be?
I would say that, you got to stay consistent with this. And I think everybody says the same thing. You've got to stay consistent. You got to be willing to make the calls. You got to be willing to sit down. Your mindset is huge here too, because I mean, for a lot of us, we're dealing with things. But you have to say, if yesterday was not a good day, that, hey, tomorrow is going to be better. And I've even said that to myself, like, okay, I wasn't able to get anybody on the phone, or I had to send text messages, or I had to just call and constantly call, and I didn't get anyone. But I know tomorrow tomorrow there's going to be somebody. You got to have those conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
So the consistency, your mental state. And what I've also decided to do, Tim, is that I'm really trying to limit distractions, because even Adam said it. He's like, I see that you have a lot of motivate, like you're motivated, you're someone that really wants to do this, but you're too distracted. And so what I recognize is that I can't do nothing about family distractions. I have a kid, so that just comes with the territory. But
Right.
when it comes to outside stuff, somebody wants to go and do this, somebody wants to be involved in that, spending a lot of time on social media when you're not trying to sell yourself, or you're not posting content, like you got to limit that, and you got to kind of step away from relationships and things that just take time away from you. You know what I mean? Limit the amount of phone calls, that you're making to friends and family or whatever, because that's the type of stuff that's going to hold you up. I laugh when people talk about being busy, because I'm like, for us, I mean, we're probably the busiest people running around, just because our momentum and what we're able to do in a day matters, really, really matters. It matters to us, and then the people that you're trying to get a hold of as well, or maybe that need you, that you haven't connected with yet. But yeah, that's it. I mean, just going back again, consistency, and your mental, how you think mentally about yourself and about what you're doing, and then trying to cut out those distractions, because they're there, and especially when you're working from home. I joke with people, because if I am talking to somebody, or I've had a weird day with carriers and clients, I'm like, oh, I got to look for something to eat. And it's like, nope, just keep moving along. Women have a tendency sometimes to get emotional and probably eat, but the thing is that you have to keep moving. And so that's a distraction right there.
That's funny. Yeah, I've been eliminating the distraction of eating all day. It's like 2:50 here, and I still haven't eaten lunch. So I get it. Awesome. So consistency, keeping the momentum, having that conversation with yourself mentally, and keeping yourself on target, and then eliminating distractions. I think those are huge, huge tips. And for anyone that's watching this, that's maybe thinking, I get blasted with emails from Tim, I see all these videos, and I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm not 100% sure. What would you say to that person?
Again, you have to do a self-evaluation of where you're at. So if you were in a 9 to 5, hey, let's just look at it this way. You got a salary, whether you worked hard or didn't work hard, this is what you made, right? Maybe you got tired of that, or there was something that drove you out. I'll tell you, stress levels for people nowadays working in those 9 to 5s is extremely high. So you're sitting here and you're trying to figure out, well, what do I think I want to do with my time? How do I best feel like I can be of service to someone and still, make really good money? Because all of those things are so important. You have to think about what your investment should be for you. Like, I think we discount ourself, who we are in our self-worth, more than what we should, So if I at least am working with you, because I can't do it myself, I have to invest in what you have going on, because you've taken the time to figure it out. Okay. So if you've done that, and then you're showing me how to do it, it's almost idiotic to not just go ahead and move forward. And, I get it when you said, well, you can do the system, and then if it doesn't work out, then, this is coming back to you. But who wants to sit there and wonder if it's not going to work out? Like, you're already coming into it, not prepared to, wrap your head around what it is that could potentially have. If it does, you do better than that, then what? I mean, have you even considered that? So I think it just comes back to, you got to look at where you're at in your life, and you've got to want to be able to set goals to achieve. We talk in 2025, every time a new year comes, we talk about all the things that we want to do. I'm a person that lives in the gym. Like, I'm ridiculously a gym rat. I go to the gym at, like, right now, 1 a.m. till 3. I'm crazy. But
Wow.
The thing is that I'm trying to avoid the crowds, because there's something that I need to get done there, and I'm not able to do it when they're there. So it's just like the same thing with this. if I can get that together, right? Same way maybe someone is about, their religious beliefs or whatever the case may be, you've got to really wrap your head around, what's important and what's willing to invest time in. And like I just said to you, had I not been doing the system, I would be running around buying aged leads or buying not so good leads, and I'd be working all day for 1 or 2 sales. And, right now, I mean, that's more of a mental breakdown than what most people can handle. And you might as well just go back to a regular job, if you're going to do
Yeah.
that. So,
100%. I
mhm.
always say you can either spend time or you can spend money. And if you
Mhm.
have more time than you have money, then you should spend your time getting the money so that you can then buy your time back, right?
Right.
And if you
Right.
have more money than you have time, then why would you waste the time? Because we can get unlimited money, but we do not have unlimited time. So
Right. Right.
that's something I personally do. I mean, Julian and I invest. Right now, we pay a guy like $68,000 a year for a mastermind to learn how to
Mhm.
grow our business. I've personally
Mhm.
spent multi six figures on coaching and mentorships and programs. So, like, I personally believe in it because I've seen the power of it. And,
Mhm.
by no means is what we offer cheap, but the quality is also not cheap. So, I think for people that like they have the capital to invest and they want to get to the next level, um, I mean, I personally think there's no better way to really level up in the industry than investing in yourself. So
Yeah,
that's what I would
yeah,
say as
and
well.
for those that have a sole proprietorship or maybe have an LLC or whatever, when and you don't really have the money. I mean, maybe you have the credit. I mean, I get it. Sometimes we don't really like to talk about that, but you have to be strategic about how you're going to get to the next level. I mean, you hear some of the top producers. I mean, people that are doing very well that talk about how you've got to like be able to take a risk, and put something out there. I mean, but all in the same, when you're taking that risk, you've got to be really serious about what's going on. Like, if I'm going to invest all of this and I'm just going to let it all go to where, I mean, what am I doing? Like, that doesn't really say
Yeah,
much about my character. It doesn't say much about me. So that's really the conversation you have to have with yourself. And you can tell us, someone else can tell us, but if we don't hear it inside, and it's not something that's coming out of our mouths, as a reinforcement, we're back to the same thing again. So,
100%,
mhm.
100%. Well, Esther, I appreciate you coming on and spending almost an hour on the channel spitting value and giving advice to our audience. So I'm sure
Yeah.
they appreciate it. I know I appreciate it. And thank you so much. We'll see you guys in the next video.